Right, I'm an industrial engineer. I studied in Chile. I'm Chilean, and I did a little bit of entrepreneurship. I founded an NGO. Going to the basics of verbal was what changed my journey. I have no doubt, and you don't have to be a genius to have a good GMAT. It's just following the approach. It's just that, and giving it the time. Even if you learn 20,000 idioms that there are, you will get them sometimes wrong if you don't understand the meaning of what you're reading.
Hello, everybody. A very good morning, a good evening, or a good afternoon to everyone present all across the globe watching this video on YouTube. I welcome you warmly to yet another success interview with the man of the hour, the man of the moment, a very dear friend who ended up becoming of mine, Raul. Raul, welcome to our success interview, and thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, Drew, it's so nice to being able to share my story, and finally being able to share the story. That means that I already finished my GMAT process, so I'm very happy about it too.
Right. Thank you so much for doing this, and I love the objective with which you've come to this interview. You're trying to give it back to the community. You're trying to share your learnings with the new people out there, the ones who are planning to begin their GMAT journey. And I'm sure your story will inspire many out there and help many people out there. So first things first, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. I'm very well, very happy to be like finally resting and just on a slower pace right now, just doing my applications and happy overall.
Right, you look happy. The view behind looks great as well. You look in a happy space, and I'm happy to know that. All right. So Rahul, I think you had two attempts, right? The first one was a 700 score. The second one was a 720. We'll speak about both of these journeys separately because both of these journeys were different and interesting in their own ways, right? So let's speak about your first reaction when you saw the 700 score and your reaction when you saw the 720 score.
Okay. My reactions were kind of similar because, well, I think for the 700 one, I was prepared for a 700, and I think that was a correct score. But I thought at the moment that I was prepared for more. So it was a little bit disappointing, but I had already spoken to a lot of people, and there's very few people that get it on the first try, and it's nothing to be feel ashamed about. So I just started studying the same day for the second round.
Right.
And about the second one, I think that was a little bit more disappointing because I was really prepared to get more, and I was just feeling so well, like with a very hard exercises and very hard. I got some very hard official GMAT practice exams and hard e-GMAT practice exams, and I was just feeling more prepared, and I also kept studying afterwards. So it was a kind of disappointing, but I really knew that, like for example, in math, I got like 50 or 49, and then for the verbal, I was getting like a very good score. And just at the end, I got so nervous that I knew that I was getting it. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get like a 750. And then it came like a hard reading comprehension, and I couldn't understand it at the beginning, which is kind of normal, but I got so nervous about it, and I just didn't answer any correct questions after that. So I kind of understand it, but yeah, it kind of shows how well the preparation was to give a
Right.
little space for your mind that plays you tricks on the test day.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what we're going to discuss, because I always tell my students that every decision that you make during the prep has an impact on your final score. Sometimes your decisions during the test also have an impact. Sometimes things don't go your way, but how do you, force a comeback is what matters, and that's what your journey is all about.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll understand all of that in detail. We'll dive into your entire journey in detail. And before we do that, please help our viewers with a bit about your background, a bit about yourself. What do you do? Your profession,
Right.
etc.
Right. I'm an industrial engineer. I studied in Chile. I'm Chilean, and I did a little bit of entrepreneurship. I founded an NGO, and afterwards I came into work into an NGO that is a network of schools, administers 14 schools,
Right,
K-12 they call them, like from kindergarten to 12th grade, and
right.
I work as a financial controller there. So
Hmm.
that's what I do. I now want to do an MBA.
Right, right. So your professional background looks very interesting, and I'm sure that your career so far has panned out to be really good. But after doing so well, after you've been doing so well in a career, how did you stumble upon the idea of maybe taking a break and doing a bit of GMAT and then going for an MBA?
Right. I just felt that like doing an MBA is like a life insurance, I think, and it just gives you uh, like definitely a lot of experience and knowledge that you don't have, and it helps like share what you have learned in these years of working with other people who have gone through the same, and also experts, and that
Right.
will tell you what have you done well, what have you done bad, and you're gonna meet so many people and learn new things, and that part I really like it, and also like living abroad.
Yeah.
um I think there's a lot of life things that it's worth about an MBA, but also like the part that you get a certification that people will know you know about business, and
Right.
that they know that you know a lot of things and that you're well rounded, and you got a good GMAT, which is already a cutting point, like
Right.
they say like maybe what makes, I don't know, Harvard people special is not that they completed Harvard, but that they got in the first place. So it's just like
Yes.
a cutting point.
True.
Um,
True.
that's what I decided. Like, keep working in the same I was doing before, but I have been doing 4 months or 3 months of coming back from. I go to the gym in the morning. I go study a little bit before the work, and then I work and I
Right.
get back home and I study until I sleep. 4 months, no stop.
Wow. That's superb. And I can actually vouch for this, because I remember every time I would give you a particular plan or an improvement plan or a milestone, you would come back to me quicker than anyone else. Right? You were always at it and you were always consistent. Right, right, right. So yes, this gives me a fair understanding of why GMAT and why MBA. Right. So now that you have decided that you want to do the GMAT, you want to go for an MBA, uh, let's dive into your pre-e-GMAT journey. A bit of research that you would have done. You would have used certain materials to study yourself, self-study. How did you figure out that e-GMAT was the right place? How did you find the right course for yourself? Please help us with that.
Okay, so it was like a long trip, because I first studied. I did the GMAT when I was like 20 years old, just because I
Okay.
wanted to leave the university and do a master's in business very early. master's in management, I think it's called. And I was doing pretty well. I think there I was on a zero budget, 000. So I just created hundreds of accounts in Economist, and I studied there. And again, I was doing pretty well, but my mind is just heavy on those situations. So I didn't do very well. I think I got like a 640 or something like that. Then I now decided a little bit with a more budget and a more experience to do it again. And I started with the standard, which was like the Kaplan. And it's standard because, you know, you got the big Kaplan name and you know that you're going to be a mentor and you're going to be guided, etc. And that didn't work quite well because it was going so slow. It started like teaching us like how to add and add and subtract, and it's just an exaggeration, but it was so slow and I didn't like it at all. And they took so many days in answering my questions. And overall, like the platform wasn't the best, and I just didn't like it. It's like an old school GMAT prep, and I don't think they have updated to the times, even though they were very friendly and receptive, and they had the money back guarantee. They really applied that, and they were very trying to improve. So I will give them that. But I continued my path forward, and I asked a friend that I know. She got a 750, and even though she's a genius and she's always gotten like those kind of scores and everything, I asked her, and she said, "No, I started like 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day at e-GMAT, which is like an Indian platform." And that it works so well. And she said she was very happy and she recommended it, and she explained me how to use it. So I just went into e-GMAT. I was surprised by the price. I found it very very worth it at first. It's also like you have a very nice trial. You can try and you can see if you like it or not. So I just went for that. And I started studying and studying and studying, and I started with the exam, the practice exam, and I got devastated at first because I got like a 650 or something like that. And I think I was already getting like 680 or 700 in Kaplan. So that shows that it was a lot harder. And I thought, okay, they are more very, very, very very much harder than the real GMAT. But I then realized that GMAT has been getting harder. So, and you explained me that also. And you can tell that already that maybe GMAT is a little bit harder than the real test. But the last one I was very much similar to e-GMAT and not at all similar to what they are giving in the official mba.com webpage. So yeah, like I just really like the platform. I don't know if you want me to talk about the e-GMAT platform now.
Whatever comes to your mind, go for it.
So I really like the GMAT platform. I just found it like I was doing like so many exercises and just learning by heart every single possible exercise. You will understand, like, if you have like a circle exercise with 2 lines, you can have 1,000 variations on a circle and 2 lines. It's just so much. And you will never learn how to solve every circle and 2 lines exercise just by doing 1,000 exercises. So you need to go to the basics. And I
Okay.
think e-GMAT helped me. I think more in the verbal part because I'm an engineer and I think it
Right.
was much easier to do the math part.
Right.
I know it's different for people from different backgrounds,
Mhm.
but for me it was that case. Going to the basics of verbal was what changed my journey, and that comes from like learning how to construct a sentence, and even before that, like how to face a sentence,
Right.
like the pauses, where to pause, taking what you learn and like constructing a flow of the sentence and everything and make understand of it. I think that is something that you will have to do slowly at first, but then you will do automatically. And I didn't even thought about it that afterwards. And I was taking so long in doing some
Yeah.
exercises in verbal, but
Right.
now I'm doing it 130, 1 minute 30 everyone. So a single exercise. So that's good. So yeah,
Nice.
and after that, doing exercise. Um, I think you have definitely to give a lot of focus into the exercise part. I think you cannot stay with only the learning the basics and doing some exercises in between. You
Right.
have to go through a very big stage of doing exercise. And maybe that's what I lacked in the first place, in the first one where I got the 700.
Right.
And you have to give it all in doing tons of exercises, but it will be different what you learn from doing exercises if you haven't done the learning the basics approach that
Right.
e-GMAT has. That if you just started doing exercises, you will never understand. And I've talked to so many people that weren't successful in their GMAT journey, and they all
Right.
say the same. I was doing so many exercises and I didn't even understood why they were wrong.
Mm.
And even though I think the sentence correction part is the one that you will never understand why they're wrong, I think in
Right.
the end I was starting to understand what was the difference between one and the other, even though
Right.
sometimes you learn something at the GMAT and then the GMAT throws you something and it's the opposite of everything you know, and
Right.
it's like no. I think that's the worst part, but if you give it a fair attempt, you will be successful. I have no doubt, and you don't have to be a genius to have a good GMAT. It's just following the approach. it's
The approach and
it's
the
just that, and
process.
giving it the time. And whenever people tell you, don't keep studying, you're okay, or whatever, you have to keep going and keep going. It's you against the test. You against the test. I think that's the most
Wow.
important.
That's so nicely put, Raul. So let's now get into your verbal journey. Like you just mentioned, I was always in awe of your approach and attitude because I never saw you leaving any stone unturned. Um, you went through the basics, you went through master comprehension, and you started with SC. Uh, how comfortable were you with SC already, or were there certain issues that you knew existed, and then how did you go about your SC preparation?
No, I think SC definitely was the case where I was doing so many exercises and just I didn't understood anything. And this goes back from a long time, like even in high school and even younger. I never wanted to understand how to construct a sentence. It's just something I was so against it, so against it. I hated it.
Right,
And this time I said, no, it's not gonna be that, and I'm gonna like do 2 weeks of understanding how a sentence is built.
right,
And that's it. Like you will understand very quickly, very, very quickly. The first day you will understand that by learning how parallelism works, you will get correctly the parallelism exercises. It's straightforward. If you learn it, you're gonna get it right. So I think that was the approach, like learning very well what was a sentence structure, and then doing a lot of exercises. And even that, I think like when I was doing the hard GMAT practice exams, I was like 100% or 90% in reading comprehension, 90 or 100% in critical reasoning, and if I had like 8 questions wrong, 7 were sentence corrections. So I just said like, I'm gonna give 100% to this, and I started getting, like, if you can see my results, I was getting in the end all of the, like 90 or 80% of this hard sentence correction questions right. So in the official guide, a lot of times I got 100%, like when I did like 10 or 7 questions, 100%.
Right. I think you followed the meaning-based approach to the T. I think, and it became second nature to you, I think, right? Because you had gone through the files so diligently, you were doing the practice quizzes so diligently that I think you understood the entire process, and you know just to focus on the meaning. And I think that created all the difference in SC.
Yeah, right? It's also about that. It's very important, because even if you learn 20,000 idioms that there are, you will get them sometimes wrong if you don't understand the meaning of what you're reading. True. So if you're not like studying 20 hours a day, that some people can, I suggest that you learn the most important idioms, and which it's like pretty easy to understand which they are. And I used an app for that. It's called the Magoosh, I think. They have it's free, and you just like tap idioms, one idiom against a correct one against an incorrect one, and that's all I did about idioms, which is not much, and the rest was just following the most important things. So first, you can discard for the use of meaning. You can already get like 2 answers out of the 5. You can go already have a 50-50. And then you can use other things like parallelism, comparisons, using such as, like, etc. You will 90% of the time will be able to have the correct answer. And if not, you have to go to idioms. But then if you already know like the most important idioms, you will get 50% of those correct. And you're left with 50% of 90, of 10%, like 5% maybe, of the questions wrong, but you will already be in 50-50, and you can use your feelings and just have a lot of those correct also. So you are left with a very, 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 very small percentage of questions which you will fail for idioms. It's not very important.
Right. Oh, that I think these tips are surely going to be helpful to many people out there who struggle with SC. How do you rate your analytical abilities, and then how do you think did you improve on CR? What did you do?
CR, I was doing very bad at the beginning, I think, and I didn't. It was something easier to fix, because what I wasn't doing is that if they were asking me strengthen the argument, I was looking for strengthening the, I don't know, whatever else, like, but it was not the conclusion of the argument. So you have to identify the conclusion of the argument, and then you will understand very quickly if it helps the conclusion or it doesn't help it, or it's focused on other thing, or it's talking about something unrelated, or it's talking about something opposed to what would help. I think CR was the easier one to improve. Mm-hmm.
And any specific approach that you followed, any specific process that you were following?
So CR was kind of the same. I just went through the course of e-GMAT, and I learned what was weakening, what was strengthening, what was inferring the meaning, and etc. I don't know if inferring is something, no. But I learned
We have
the most
inference.
important, yeah. So I learned the most important questions that they have, and doing the exercises at the end to like cementing
Right.
the knowledge, and then just doing exercises was much easier. I think once you understand it's just doing some exercise, because once you understand
Right.
what is the argument of the text of the paragraph, you will understand pretty quickly what helps, what doesn't. You can even do the
Right.
pre-thinking at the end. At the beginning,
Right.
I didn't really understand the pre-thinking, because I said, like, it's so impossible to pre-think some things, and you say, like, how can I guess the pre-think for this one is so special. But at the end, when you do so many exercises, you will definitely know what the GMAT is trying to
Right.
ask you. Every time they do every time you're reading, you already know where it's going. Even
Right.
you already know which distractors they will throw at you. So I already knew, like, if they're talking about refrigerators and they say, oh no, like the microwaves were something, you already know that it's very difficult that they're trying to talk about something else, and that it will
Right.
strengthen or weaken, like, the refrigerators. So it's I think that approach is what helped me. It's like just going through the meaning, understanding what is the argument, and knowing what kind of wrong answers they are throwing at you. They already know exactly what wrong answers they're putting, and they're studied and precisely put there. And once you learn their techniques and their traps, it's just, you're not gonna go have them wrong.
Right. Right. Also, Rahul, since you come from Chile, I am assuming that you've always been a non-native speaker of English, like me,
Uh,
right?
yeah.
So what did you do to build a good base that helped you ace the RC section? Because you always were fairly comfortable with RC. So were there some specific articles that you were reading, some specific exercises that you were doing? What was it that made RC easy for you?
Maybe that part I cannot give the best advice, because I have the privilege of have been interested in English since I was small. I also went to like a British school in Chile, so
Okay.
I was already a good. I already had a good English, but it doesn't assure you. Like, I had a lot of my classmates who didn't have a good English because they didn't like it or they didn't put the
Right.
effort. But I all my life played video games. I watched movies. I read
Right.
books, and I was just never letting go of English. So I don't know if I can give the best advice for people that don't come with the best English, but definitely it will help, like, learning the language, and that is reading as much as you can in your free time. Maybe read things that you like, don't read things
Right.
that you don't like. Watch
Makes
movies
sense.
first with English subtitles,
Yeah.
because English subtitles will help you match your hearing with your reading, and it will also like let you practice. And maybe you can then do without subtitles, even though GMAT is only read and you don't have
Right.
listening, but understanding the language is very important. And I think just read as much as you can all day long.
Right. 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 So your improvement in the verbal section was terrific, right? And I think we kind of breezed through verbal. I don't think we had to struggle a lot in verbal. And then we moved on to quant, which happened to be your strength. But what was your score in your 700 attempt in quant?
I think it was like 48 or 49.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but
And
it
I'm sure you will be disappointed with that.
oh yeah. The thing is that being an engineer, you always think that you're gonna get like good, that your
Right.
strong part is gonna be math. But I was having the opposite. Like I was 80 or 90 percentile or in verbal, maybe 90,
Right.
being non-English native. And I was like a 30% in math. So I was like,
Right.
oh, what am I doing wrong? So definitely it was the same, like following the just doing exercises approach won't help. I went
Right.
much quickly, even than the pace method that you have.
Right.
I just didn't want to spend too much time in like learning.
Uh-huh.
So I just went through the parts I thought like I didn't knew. So statistics and probabilities and sets was definitely always my weakness. Even
Right.
in Chile, like a standardized test, I've always had that problem. I didn't wanted to learn it. So
Okay.
now I did even though I had like much more advanced courses on statistics and probabilities in the university, like
Right.
these basic questions, like you have three people sitting in a round table, or you have I don't know, like very easy questions, relatively speaking. I was getting them wrong, and
Right.
it's just like a combination between learning a little bit in the beginning, which
Right.
is not much if you already know it, and
Right.
doing a lot of exercises. But after like doing, but I had to do a lot of study. Like it's even funny because you have like already have like a 49 or 50 in quant,
Right.
and I'm doing more quant studying than verbal studying because you want to get maybe to the 51. You know that you can get it,
Right.
but you know you're not realizing that you have like 10 points to improve in verbal.
Right.
So I think you have to give it a fair try and just exercise, always with a board or the official paper, plastic paper. Just if you're gonna study on like white paper, just do it for a few months, but you
Right.
need a little, at least 2 or 1 month of studying on official material paper. That is important.
Right.
So you don't get nervous. When I did it when I was in university, when I was 20 years old, I got there.
Uh-huh.
I was always studying on paper. I got there with this plastic thing. That was the thing that took me the most of you. You can't
Right.
let anything to the to chances. So
Right.
it was that I was studying like 1 hour or 2 hours a day on doing exercises. So I knew I wouldn't fail on the on test, but the rest was doing English exercises,
Right.
verbal.
Right. So Raul, what changed between the 700 attempt and the 720 attempt? What did you do? What
Mm,
did you do differently to get this jump of 20 points from your previous attempt?
mm. I think I I I rushed a little bit. So if you have the
Yeah, you
time,
did.
just early and start early and just take your time. Don't stress about it because I was so stressed and trying to do it as fast as I could. So just
Yeah.
you turned out to be burned out. So I think that's what kept me from the 750. Maybe it's like the feeling of being so tired, the feeling of
Yeah.
just burning yourself. That's what it's gonna keep you out from the big nice scores.
Right.
But what is gonna get you closer to these scores is following the course relaxed and taking the time that Drew or someone else tells you to follow. Like if they tell you do 2 hours a day and do this and this, just do it without the pressure of trying to get it faster. But what I did was trying to skip so many of the things that you were telling me, and I got into the exam without doing so many exercises. I just went in with the knowledge part. So there you can see how strong the knowledge part. I got 700 without doing exercises or so many exercises. And the second part is doing the exercises. So I went on the Scholarium and tried to, this is like a little bit competition against you. It's like, okay, I have, if you go like to the all or 30 last questions, you say, okay, I have 65% critical reasoning, 63% reading comprehension, and 56% on sentence correction. So say, okay, I'm going to get all of them to 60, and then all of them to 65, and all of them to 70. And for me, that was the best approach to for that last push, is trying to get as many correct questions as possible.
Right. And I remember we did work a lot on the last mile push program. I primarily got you enrolled into that program because I saw you being extremely diligent with everything that you were doing. Even though I knew that you were not following the quant strategy in the first attempt, I knew that the objective of that first attempt was to just get into get to experience what GMAT looks like, right?
You remember I was getting married 3 days after I got the news I was going to be a father. I went with the news I was going to be a father to the GMAT. 1 day, so I was thinking about diapers on my test.
Right. So I knew that, the objective behind taking the first attempt wasn't to go out there and, hit the ball out of the park and all of that, but just to experience how
everyone wants that. Everyone says like, okay, I hope I'm gonna get like good at the first time. And I really felt I deserved it. But then after studying much more, I knew that I didn't deserve it that first attempt. I didn't deserve it at all because I hadn't done enough exercises and I was getting so many questions wrong. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Also, Raul, you mentioned that you were a bit disappointed after the second attempt as well. Do you attribute, the 720 attempt, the score, to the delay in taking the test? Because I think you were in that flow. There was a momentum, which I think got shifted because one of your online exams got cancelled. If you remember.
Yeah, like I got a very bad experience with mba.com. So just don't leave anything to chances. Really be very diligent on following the instructions. But I got a bad experience. I fell out the momentum. They didn't let me do the online test. And after that, I was just so burned down and let down. And I just had 2 weeks of starting to do it again online, but already with a very bad mindset. So at the end, that I just got to the test and I was like this, like reading, and not like this, how you should be. It's all on the mindset. So I think what you have to do is just understand that what you're going to use the most in the test is your brain. And if you're not getting there in the best quality, just it's not going to be a good attempt. You have to rest. You have to have a social connections. You have to exercise, have a good alimentation. And I did all of those. I just wasn't sleeping very well at the end, and I was like so tired. But like, I don't think if I keep studying, I'm gonna get a better score, because I'm already like I'm already in a mindset where I'm okay with it, and people have telling me that 720 is already fine to get into most schools or every school. And at that point, people are gonna check into your profile more than
Just the score.
maybe like if you're a consultant and there's thousands of consultants with the same background and they all went to Africa to do like volunteer work and etc. Maybe having a 750 or 770, whatever, is gonna help you. But that's not my case. I have like a different profile. It's not that common, so it's mostly gonna depend on if universities like my profile or not. And I think 720 is already past that cutting point.
Yes, I agree. And I also believe that it was that thing that happened with your MBA, your online exam getting cancelled, that actually derailed your momentum, because I think you were on course to score a 740, 750. But then I think after that cancellation, it took another 12, 15 days for you to get the exam rescheduled. I think that actually burnt you out a little and put you off track. But nevertheless, I think your profile looks excellent, and 720 is a very decent score. It's a very good score, and you should be there. So Raul, this was kind of an entire GMAT journey, right? During a journey, you were a full-time working professional, which was also a challenge, I'm sure. So how would a day in Raul's life look like during the GMAT prep journey?
So at first I was with more energy, so I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning, going to the gym, getting first to the office, studying, working, getting back to my house, doing house tasks, and then studying until 10 and repeat every day, every single day. But at the end, I was so burnt out. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped having good rest. I think that's the most important thing to keep on in your mind is if you're not, I think you can study a lot less and be in a good brain form and get a better score,
Right. So yes, I was coming to that. It's important to make sure that you maintain your hobbies as well while preparing. But I think the key to your success was consistency, right? Doing, following the same daily routine for 4 months. I think you would spend 2 to 3 hours every day, right? To your prep, you would devote it.
Yeah. Like 2 hours every day, or sometimes 3. Because at the end, it's the same. I was sitting in my office, in my home office, like 5 hours a day and studying 2.
Yeah.
And the rest, I was watching videos, playing chess or whatever, doing some work. But at the end, like you don't want to press that button of start, because you're feeling like all of the tingling. I don't want any more of this, But yeah, 2 hours a day, I would say. And then in the weekends, just all day long.
Right. So now that the GMAT is out of the way, what does Raul plan to do next? What's up with the application process?
I already, so I even started with this after I failed to do the GMAT. They canceled my test. So I already started and started writing on my
Essays?
good things, my bad things, my curriculum, what things makes me special, what I did on everything I did, and what good things and bad things I've learned about everything on life and stuff like that. Just doing the general panorama of my history. and I'm gonna start this week on doing the applications.
All right. All right. Now, since we are coming to the end of this wonderful session, I would like to end this session on a great note, wherein I would request you to just share some advices, some tips with the GMAT aspirants out there. You've already shared a few tips already, but if you still have certain things that you wish to share with the people out there, please go ahead. Stage is yours.
Yeah, I think once you decide that this thing was the most important for me. It's like once you decide that you're gonna do GMAT, just don't look back and don't say, don't ask why am I doing this. Don't try to think on whether you want to do or not the MBA.
Right.
Don't think about I don't know, like how your life is going away, or just I put myself in a mindset where I didn't think at all. So if people thought me like, oh, what university do you want to go? I don't care. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking
Right.
about how can I get the best score in the GMAT, and
Wow.
it's gonna be much easier to answer the question of where I want to go to study once I have a good score.
Yeah.
Uh, and also, like, if I started to ask myself, because I wasn't very sure I wanted to do an MBA, but I
Right.
already decided I wanted to do the GMAT. So I said, it's me against the GMAT. Will I give my best to do a very good GMAT, or am I going to sit down and ask myself if I want to do an MBA or not, or if
Right.
all of this is worth it? Like, for me, having the score in my hand is worth all the time I put on it, even though if I don't end up doing an MBA, it was just
Right.
defeating the test. It's
Right.
like
Right. Wow,
it's
this
like a
is so
video
nicely
game.
put. Right. Right. So nicely put, Raul. I love this last advice that you gave, where you would not think about what am I going to do after the GMAT, because you are focused on the present. And I think that's the only thing that's under your control, the present, right? And
Yeah.
you did exactly that. And that's a great learning that many people here are going to take away from this interview of yours. So this brings us to the end of this interview. You shared a lot about your journey. You shared about the rights and the wrongs. Uh, you were bold enough to admit certain things that you didn't do that you should have, and that's what makes you such a special student of mine and such a good friend of mine now. So thank you so much, Raul, for doing this, for taking out your time on this vacation, a much needed vacation, I would say. And it was a pleasure having you, not just as my student, but also having you here. And now I think I have a friend for life. So we'll always stay in
Yeah.
touch.
No, definitely, definitely. I'm giving also this interview because I really, really recommend this. I don't recommend anything that don't I wouldn't recommend a friend. I'm not doing this for you guys. I'm doing this for everyone out there that is having struggles with the test. Just
Right,
this is a very, very, very good option for everyone. It has its weaks and its strengths, as everything in life. It's not perfect,
right,
but it's the best you're gonna get. And if you follow their plan, you're gonna 100% get a good score. I have no doubts about it. So, and also, I'm so thankful for the e-GMAT team, especially to you, because you were there all the journey, and just every questions I asked is what it was answered in 24 hours, 48 hours. Those are the small things that make the difference.
wow. I'm glad we could do it. I'm glad to have been a part of your journey, Raul. So with this, we'll end our interview here. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best on behalf of all the e-GMAT team members out there for your application process and for all the future endeavors that you undertake. So keep in touch and best wishes.
Bye bye.
Bye.